Signs of Tradition and Wonders of Experience, a devotional for the seasons of Advent, Christmas, and Epiphany, produced by Northside Church. Wednesday, December 25th, the first day of Christmas. Our scripture passage today comes from John chapter 1, verses 1 through 5, verse 14, and verses 16 through 18.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. Out of his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known.
My experience of Christmas Day has changed dramatically throughout my life, as is probably true for most of us. When I was a kid, it was, of course, my favorite day of the year. Like most kids, I used to count down the days to Christmas, often starting around Halloween. And while they told me the days were getting shorter and shorter, I knew this had to be a lie because each one felt longer than the last. I would spend this expanded time polishing my Christmas gift list, which first was mailed to Santa and then later delivered to my mother, but in both cases, written with nervous expectation. The days would come and go until each one of them was a year long, and then suddenly it was Christmas Eve, and everything would happen so quickly. We'd go to church, hear the Christmas story, sing some carols, and then before I knew it, I was tucked in bed and fighting every inclination of my mind and body to sneak a peek of Santa. That was always the longest night of the year. But it ended by 5 a.m. as my brothers and I flew out of our beds and fell head first into the gifts under the tree. The flurry of wrapping paper and boxes and bows ensued, and then it was all over. As I grew older, the days shortened. Santa and the list got replaced by George Bailey and hot chocolate, and I became a lot more engaged in the tradition of Advent and the true meaning of Christmas. I experienced Christmas and the days leading up to it with a good bit more understanding and depth of faith, but if I'm honest, I missed the nervous expectation. Then I had a kid, and all that nervousness came flooding back, for a myriad of reasons. With Kiefer, I had the opportunity to share my tradition and help shape hers, even as I was able to experience anew all those Christmas jitters through her eyes. This has taught me that there is perhaps no better example of the tension between tradition and experience than the relationship between parent and child. Children are born without tradition, untethered from custom and free of ritual or habit, and yet flooded with raw experience. Over time, they are shaped by their parents or caregivers as they absorb the history and tradition of their community. Eventually, they learn to articulate this tradition and filter their experience through that lens. In fact, among the first bits of tradition a kid learns is language itself, setting the foundation for everything else. We spend the rest of our lives giving meaning to our experiences by putting them into words, which enables us to communicate those experiences and meanings to others, not to mention ourselves. I believe it's this power of language to shape and communicate our experience that John has in mind when he opens his gospel with,
In the beginning was the Word.
Before there was a basket or a manger, burning bush or singing angels, there was the Word. Before there was a tradition of God's people or an experience of God's work, there was the Word. Before there was creation itself, there was the Word. And through the Word, all things were created. Just as language gives shape and meaning to our experience, so the Word gives definition and substance to all reality. John doesn't give us a traditional Christmas story. There's no angels or shepherds, no Joseph or Mary, no baby in a manger. Instead, John gives us a creation story, a story about the Word of God, and how this Word, which created and continues to sustain all things,
became flesh and made his dwelling among us.
I think we often forget that while the Word is the ultimate tradition that gives shape to the entire universe, his becoming human like us is a whole new experience, not just for us, but for God himself. Being born as a baby boy in Bethlehem, God is not only doing something new for us, God is doing something new with us. In becoming one of us, God is experiencing what it means to be a human, all the joy and pain, laughs and tears, and so also revealing to us who God truly is. This is why John tells us that while
no one has ever seen God, the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known.
And so today, Jesus arrives full of grace and truth, and I bet with a little bit of nervous expectation.
Merry Christmas!